With a top speed of 25 miles per hour, a range of up to 60 miles, Shimano 7-speed gears, 350 watt motor, and more tech than I've seen in any other e-bike, this is Urtopia Carbon 1S. Hi everyone, I'm Colin Smith from Photoshop Cafe, and today we're going to be looking at the Urtopia Carbon 1S. Now, full disclosure, they did send me this bicycle. However, I am not told what to say. All these thoughts and opinions are completely my own. So one of the things I love about this is the lightweight. For an e-bike, this is very light. It comes in at about 33 pounds, and that's because of the carbon fiber. So the frame, the forks, the handlebars, and the seat post are all made out of carbon fiber, which really brings down that weight. But what really sets us apart from a lot of other e-bikes is the Smart Bar. So the Smart Bar is a combination of a screen and two, kind of game-like controls, and we'll dig into that in a little bit. Previously, Urtopia released the Carbon 1, and the Carbon 1 had a 250 watt motor that was a single-speed belt-driven, which gives a very smooth ride. However, by adding the 7-speed Shimano and upping the motor to 350 watts, now that gives us a little bit more boost on hills, which makes it easier for us to ride on those steep hills without putting in too much effort, and also we can get a boost in the top speed of up to 25 miles per hour. So the bike comes in 3 sizes, small, medium, and large. I'm 6 foot, so I got the large size. And it has a maximum payload of 240 pounds. So in order to stop, you need some pretty good braking on here, and what it has is front and rear dual piston hydraulic discs by Tektro. As I mentioned, we have a Shimano 7-speed rear derailleur. Now when the bike arrives, it arrives in a box and it's 90% assembled. So what you need to assemble is put the seat post on, put on the front wheel, and attach the pedals. Really not that difficult, and of course also charge up the battery and install that. Once I downloaded the app, there's videos on there that show you how to do that. Now what powers this bike is a brushless hub motor. It's 36 volt, 350 watt. The battery is a Samsung lithium ion, 9.8 amp hour, 352.8 watt battery. So the battery quick charges in 2.5 hours. So you can either take the battery off, there's 2 keys included, so it locks on there so people don't steal it. There's an included charger, you can plug it into the wall, or there's a little rubber port that you can just pop open, and that will give you access to that battery without having to remove it from the bike, so you can just plug it in where it is. Now it has an estimated range of between 25 to 60 miles depending on what level of boost you use. Now of course you can ride it like a regular bike, just pedal power without any boost, and you basically have unlimited range. But when you do use the boost, we have 4 different levels. We have Eco, which is number 1, gives it just a little bit of boost, and that lets you get a good workout while still giving you a boost, and it kind of feels like someone's behind you giving you a little bit of a push. The next level up, level 2, is Comfort, which gives more of a boost. Then you get a really good boost at level 3, which is Sport, where you're not really doing that much work anymore, but you can move along at a pretty good clip. And if you want more, hold down that button for a few seconds and it will go into Turbo mode. Now, when you're in Turbo mode, you really don't have to do much work. All you've really got to do is just turn the pedals. So even when you're going up a steep hill, if you drop it into the lowest gear and just turn that pedal, very little effort, you can go up that hill. Now, one of the things I like about this bike compared to other e-bikes that I've had is the integrated design. Instead of everything kind of being bolted on, everything's very sleek and streamlined, and that includes the lighting. So it comes with front and rear lights, and the light actually also has a millimeter wave radar, so it can detect if there's a car coming behind you, and that'll give it haptic feedback in the handlebars. You'll feel a little bit of vibration when that car is coming up behind you. Now the rear light also includes side projectors, which will project this cool little pattern on the ground. So what it does is it causes cars to give you a little bit more clearance than they might have normally. And another cool feature is if you just hit the button left or right, you can actually get an indicator where it will flash on the ground and you can see when you're turning. As far as tech, it comes with Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, as well as 4G connectivity. And when you get the bike, it comes with 1 year of free 4G, and if you want to continue it, it's $29 a year. Now you can do most things without having the 4G, but that will help you for things like tracking wirelessly and also for navigation. You can still do navigation though through the included phone app, and we'll cover that in a minute. And the handlebar on this is called a Smart Bar, and it has voice control, has fingerprint unlock, and it has an LE dot matrix display. As far as sensors, it comes with an accelerometer, gyroscope, and torque. Now the torque is really useful because rather than just pedaling and as soon as it feels the pedal, it just kicks in the motor, what it's gonna do is it's gonna adjust the amount of boost to how hard you're pedaling and how high a gear you are. So that way, it's gonna feel more like a natural boost than it is, just this suddenly clicks in the power and throws you off the seat. One of my favorite features is over-the-air updates. So that means it does firmware updates, much like you would say something like a Tesla, where over the air it can wirelessly update the bike, give it new features, fix bugs, different things like that. And in fact, some people have been calling this the Tesla of e-bikes. All right, so let's take this out for a ride and see how it goes. One of my favorite features on this bike is the smart bar. So this is this integrated screen and also the lights. Notice everything is just kind of integrated. On a lot of bikes, you see these are kind of like bolted on. Here it's just very streamlined and sleek looking. And so there's several components to this. There's two buttons. The one on the right side is a fingerprint ID. And if I click and hold that, this will turn it on and we'll start it. The one on the left is kind of like a game controller and it has 4 different directions. If I push up, it changes the speed of the bike. Another feature which is really cool is walk mode. So if I take the arrow here and I hit the right arrow and I hold it down for a few seconds, it will go into walk mode. As the wheel will actually turn, and as long as you hold your finger on there, that wheel will keep turning. Take your finger off, the wheel will stop. And this is really great if you have to push it up hills, or in this case, I'm pushing it up a grassy bank. So let's look at the thumbprint ID again. So the thumbprint is the way that you will start it up. If it doesn't recognize your thumbprint, it won't start. Now the bike is still gonna work, but it's just not gonna have any of the electronics, the boost or anything working, the smart bar or anything like that until it turns on with your thumb ID. Now the thumb ID is optional, you don't have to use it. Now this also doubles as a button. If I long press this button all the way down, you'll see this little face here, and it's listening. And I can say things like volume down, lights off, go to sleep. So you're gonna get a lot of extra functionality through the Urtopia app, which you can download from the App Store, either on Android or iOS. Now, when you first launch it, you have a welcome screen, and on the welcome screen, it shows you the weather, shows you your recent rides, it's got some news on there, user guide, which gives you, instructions and video tips and instructions on how to do different things. And then you'll see a list of your recent rides. Where the heart of this is, we're gonna go through here. We're gonna go to the main page. First thing you wanna do is turn the bike on. And then once the bike's on, just tap on Bluetooth, and now you compare the bike to the Bluetooth. And from here you have different things, like if you can't find your bike, just hit the beep. And that will beep your bike. You can turn the power on or off. And we can also turn the lights on and off here just by simply tapping. Of course, you can also use voice control to turn the lights on just by simply saying lights on. Or you can grab the button there on the left-hand side and just hold that down to the left, and that will turn the lights on. Then you have the alarm mode, so we can, arm the alarm and have it set. The next set is we have the volume, because the smart bar has a speaker built into it, and you can change the volume of that to 4 different levels, or you can mute it. Now the vibration, this is where you're going to feel the haptic feedback in the handlebar when a car comes up behind you. Now sounds, you can go through here and you can change the sounds. So if you don't like any of the sounds of the powering on, the bell, the turbo mode, or the alarm, you can go through and try different ones. Say for example, the alarm here. Or we can do an alternative alarm. The bell, we can try different things like a dog barking. a horse barking. I'm not sure how a horse barks, but okay. We've got the horn, the game, and I'm probably just going to leave it on the regular ringing bell. Then we have the ability to go to speaker here, and what you do is you just pair that with your phone, and you can play your music, your podcast, or anything like that through the built-in speaker if you want. And then advanced, there's some interesting settings here. So there's some different preferences at the top here that we can turn on and off. There's even a brake light, so when you hit the brake, that light will actually light up. And then the units of measurement, it comes out of the box in Celsius and also in kilometers. And since I'm in the United States, I changed it to miles and Fahrenheit. This is where you would change that. And that's what you see on this display. So the matrix display will show whatever unit of measurement you choose here. Then fingerprint, this is where you set up the fingerprint ID. It's very simple, and you can set it up for other riders or maybe use different fingers. And then the helmet, you can connect with a connected helmet, which has lights and different things like that, which I don't have those. Then there's other things to give you the information here about your bike, firmware version, etc. And if you hit the update, this is going to look for updates, and this will actually run a firmware update here through the app. But you'll also see it on the bike, and you'll see it on the screen, and the screen will show you the progress of that firmware update and give you a little Yahoo when it's done. Diagnosis, so we can just tap on that, make sure everything is working correctly, and it looks good there. So here you can set a fence up, and that fence is basically an electronic fence, which you'll set a radius around your bike. If the bike moves outside of that radius, it will sound the alarm. So this is a good security function. And this is where you'll see the eSIM here, and this is where I was talking about the 4G. Works through an eSIM. It's free for a year, and then after that year, it's $29 a year if you choose to continue using it. The main advantage of that, of course, is the tracking of the bike when it's not connected to Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. So other functionality here, we can go into community, and you can see what other riders are doing. And of course, you can share your own rides. Then we've got our navigation. We can go in here and you can, choose a pin or find a location, type it in, and then the navigation will work, and you can use it on the phone, or of course, it will show up on the smart bar. You'll see a little arrow on the screen. It'll tell you when to turn, go forward, and all that different stuff. So it's nice to have that navigation right there, so you don't have to look at your phone while you're riding. Then you've got your personal information here. It's got your plans that you can put in here, and then it shows you your statistics, how far you've ridden, how many calories you've burned, how much CO2 you've saved, all that fun stuff. And you can look at it daily, monthly, or yearly. And one of the other things you can do on here is if you see any of your rides, you can tap on the ride. You'll see the statistics of that particular ride. But what's fun is you hit that little play button, and now you can relive that journey and see exactly where you went. And it's fun, it gives me all the statistics I need without being overly complicated. So my thoughts and conclusions on the Urtopia Carbon 1S. So first of all, it's a great looking bike. It's going to turn heads, you'll get a lot of compliments. But the second thing that's really big is the fact that it's made all out of carbon fiber. So that carbon fiber not only is lighter and stronger, but it also helps give a smoother ride because it absorbs a little bit more shock than what you would get with, say, aluminum or steel. So I found the ride to be very smooth and comfortable with plenty of power and plenty of gearing options to be able to hit the heaviest hills or get some good speed or get a good workout. So as far as tech, this bike is pretty much unmatched. From the very beginning, from being connected through Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, 4G, we've got navigation, we've got an alarm, we've got tracking so you can find your bike if someone steals it, and all the other functionalities through the screen, voice control, you name it, it's all there. And of course, the connected phone app gives it more functionality with the ability to get more updates over the air. In fact, when they added navigation, they did over-the-air updates, and all the Urtopia bikes got navigation as an update. Okay, so as far as areas that maybe personally I didn't so much like or could use some improvement, one of them is the angle that you're sitting on. So this is, obviously a good position for riding and aerodynamics. But what I found is a lot of pressure was going down on my forearms and wrists, and they started to get quite tired from leaning forward. It'd be nice if there was an option to maybe attach some touring bars, so you could take a little bit of a rest and sit up a little bit more. And another thing is the seat. The seat here is quite narrow. It's more like a racing seat. Fortunately though, you can go online and order a wider seat, which I have. I've ordered one of those dog nose seats, you know, with the springs in it, and it's going to be a little bit more comfortable for me particularly. Now this bike comes in at $27.99, which seems like a lot of money, and it is, but if you've actually been looking at other e-bikes and then you realize that this thing is made out of carbon fiber, it's actually not a bad price. So there's three groups of people I would recommend this bike for. So the first group are commuters. If you're commuting to work or school, you know, having the power from the motor and the gears and everything is really going to make light work of that commute. The second are recreational riders, either people, you know, who just want to go out and enjoy nature, scenery, or people that want to actually get a workout. And because of the multiple levels of boost, you can drop that boost down and you can get a good workout, or you can kick that boost up and you don't have to work very much at all. Which brings me to the third group, which could be, you know, people with some injuries or elderly who can't ride a regular bike. You just don't have the strength to get up the hills anymore. This is going to be perfect because you can build in the amount of boost that you want, and you can get up those hills without too much effort. And even riding on the flat, you know, if you have some challenges, this can definitely help you. All right, enough talking. This thing was built for riding. So anyway, I'm interested in your guys' thoughts. Drop them in the comments underneath. And if you're new here to the cafe, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications. You won't miss any of my videos. Until next time, I'll see you at the cafe.